People often describe the INFJ as warm, deep, and understanding. They're the ones who listen when no one else does. They care when everyone else walks away. They bring peace into chaos and always seem calm, even when the world is loud. But what most people don't realize is what happens inside an INFJ when they get hurt. They don't scream. They don't break things. They don't make dramatic scenes. Instead, they smile. They nod. They keep showing up. And on the outside, it looks like nothing changed. But inside, something has cracked. And once that happens, the INFJ begins to disappear, slowly, quietly, and sometimes permanently. Being hurt for an INFJ is not just about what was said or done. It's about what it meant. Because they feel everything on a deeper level. A broken promise isn't just disappointing, it feels like betrayal. A harsh word isn't just rude, it cuts into their sense of self. And once they've been hurt deeply enough, it changes how they see the world around them. People don't usually notice it. That's the disturbing part. INFJs are so good at hiding their pain that even the people who hurt them might never know the damage they caused. But the pain is real. It doesn't just fade. It lives in the INFJ's memory, their thoughts, and their emotional wiring. This video looks at 6 disturbing things that happen when the INFJ gets hurt, things most people never see. They're not always loud or obvious, but they're powerful. And for the INFJ, they shape how they trust, how they think, and how they survive in a world that often misunderstands them. Thing number 1. The invisible wound of betrayed trust. For an INFJ, trust isn't something they give easily. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes watching someone's words match their actions over and over again. But once they do trust someone, it goes deep. They let their guard down. They share their thoughts. They open the door to their most private emotional world. That's why betrayal doesn't just hurt an INFJ, it scars them. Whether it's dishonesty, manipulation, abandonment, or disrespect, the damage goes far beneath the surface. And the most disturbing part is, no one might ever see it. INFJs don't lash out. They don't always confront the person who broke the trust. Instead, they retreat. They sit with the pain. They replay what happened. And they try to understand it, logically, emotionally, spiritually. But that deep reflection doesn't make the wound go away. If anything, it makes it deeper because the INFJ keeps looking for why. They wonder what they missed. They ask how they could have trusted someone who would turn around and hurt them. They may question their judgment. They may lose faith in their ability to see people clearly. And yet they rarely let anyone see this process. To the outside world, the INFJ may still be smiling, still showing up, still acting calm. But internally, a shift has happened. The person who once held a place of trust now feels distant. The emotional connection that once felt safe now feels dangerous. And the INFJ starts building walls they never had before. The scar doesn't go away easily. INFJs may carry it for years. Even if they forgive, they don't forget. And it's not out of spite, it's out of protection. Because to them, trust isn't just about comfort. It's about identity. When it's broken, they lose a piece of themselves. And they never want to lose it again. The most painful part is, the person who hurt them might never know how deep that wound was. They may think the INFJ moved on. But what they don't see is that something beautiful inside that INFJ has closed off, maybe for good. Thing number 2. Internalizing guilt and blame. INFJs don't just feel pain. They take responsibility for it. Even when someone else causes the harm, the INFJ's first instinct is to look inward. They ask, what did I do wrong? Or, did I cause this somehow? And once that question is planted, it grows into guilt, even if they did nothing wrong at all. This response is deeply rooted in their empathy. INFJs don't want to believe that people hurt others for no reason. They try to find meaning behind the pain. And when the answer isn't clear, they often decide it must be their fault. They'll analyze every word they said. They'll go back through every conversation. They'll replay every detail, trying to find the moment they messed up. And this obsessive self-review doesn't bring peace. It brings confusion, self-doubt, and emotional exhaustion. The guilt may not be logical, but it feels real. And because INFJs often keep their emotions to themselves, they rarely speak this guilt out loud. They carry it alone, quietly, sometimes for months or years. They might apologize too much. They might try to fix things that aren't their responsibility. They might stay in relationships longer than they should, just because they feel like they owe it to the other person to make it right, even when they've been the one hurt. This pattern is dangerous. It keeps the INFJ trapped in emotional pain, and it prevents them from seeing the truth that being hurt doesn't always mean they failed. Sometimes people are just careless. Sometimes others project their own issues. And sometimes betrayal comes from someone they never should have trusted in the first place. But the INFJ rarely gives themselves that grace. Instead, they hold the weight of guilt. They wonder if being more patient, more loving, more understanding could have changed the outcome. And in doing so, they allow the wound to grow deeper. This quiet self-blame is one of the most disturbing things about INFJ pain. Because while others move on, the INFJ stays behind, trying to fix something they didn't even break. Thing number 3. Quiet rage. That burns internally. Most people don't associate INFJs with rage. They're calm. They're soft-spoken. They care about others. But when they're deeply hurt, a storm brews beneath that quiet surface. And it doesn't come out as yelling or aggression. It simmers. Slowly. Silently. And sometimes it never gets released. INFJs feel deeply, but they're also controlled. They don't explode when they're angry. They analyze. They hold back. They try to understand. But underneath that emotional control, something dark can start to grow. Rage. It's not the kind of rage that lashes out. It's the kind that creates distance. It builds walls. It makes the INFJ cold toward people who once held their heart. It's not obvious, but it's powerful. And it can be terrifying to anyone who finally sees it. This rage often comes from betrayal, cruelty, or repeated disrespect. The INFJ can handle small hurts. But when someone crosses a moral line, when someone breaks trust in a way that cuts to the core, that's when the rage is born. And once it starts burning, it changes how the INFJ sees the person forever. They may not say anything. They may not show it. But inside, they're rewiring the emotional connection. They're saying to themselves, this person no longer deserves access to my soul. And they start to remove themselves, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. The most disturbing part is how long this rage can last. Because it's not based on a single moment. It's the result of deep emotional damage. And while the INFJ may forgive on the surface, that internal fire keeps burning. It pushes them to cut ties, to protect themselves, to never go back. In rare cases, this quiet rage can turn into something more. An emotional boundary that becomes icy distance. A calm goodbye that carries the weight of finality. And when that happens, the person who hurt the INFJ might realize, too late, that they've been completely shut out. The INFJ won't raise their voice, but they will make a decision. And when that decision is fueled by silent rage, there's no undoing it. That's what makes this part of their pain so hard to see, and so final when it arrives. Thing number 4, emotional shutdown plus isolation. When an INFJ gets hurt, their instinct is to pull away. Not out of pride. not to punish, but to survive. Emotional pain overwhelms them quickly, and when it becomes too much, they shut down. It doesn't happen in public. It doesn't always come with tears. Sometimes it looks like nothing at all. They just stop responding. They cancel plans. They disappear into their own world. And even if they're physically present, their spirit is somewhere else. This kind of withdrawal is disturbing because it's so complete. One day the INFJ is warm, thoughtful. The next, they're quiet, distant, unreachable. And people around them might have no idea why. They'll say the INFJ is acting off or seems tired. But what's really happening is protection. The INFJ is trying to shield themselves from more pain. They don't want to be asked how they feel. They don't want to explain the hurt. They don't want to risk being misunderstood again. So they go silent. They stay inside. They drown in their thoughts. This kind of emotional shutdown isn't temporary. It can last for days, or weeks or longer. And during this time, the INFJ might cut off communication with everyone, even people who had nothing to do with the hurt. It's not because they've stopped caring. It's because they can't handle any emotional weight until they've had time to process their own. The isolation can become a coping mechanism, a form of control in a world that suddenly feels unsafe. And while it helps the INFJ regroup, it also deepens the loneliness they already feel. Most people won't realize this is happening. They'll think the INFJ is just busy or distracted or fine. But inside, the INFJ is barely holding things together. They're sorting through layers of pain. And they're doing it alone because they don't trust anyone to help them carry it. That's the disturbing part. They hide their pain so well that no one even knows to ask. And by the time someone finally notices the distance, the INFJ is already far, far away, emotionally and mentally. Thing number 5, overthinking obsessions. Replaying every detail. Once an INFJ is hurt, their mind doesn't let it go easily. Even if they try to move on, their thoughts keep pulling them back. They replay conversations. They analyze every detail. They wonder what they missed, what they should have said, what it really meant. This mental loop is relentless. It can go on for hours, days, or weeks, and it never feels like enough. Because no matter how many times they go over it, there's always more to question, more to understand, more pain to sort through. This obsession with detail isn't about revenge. It's about meaning. INFJs want to understand why things went wrong, why someone hurt them, why they didn't see it coming. And because they think so deeply, they look at the situation from every possible angle, until it consumes them. They might stay up at night rehashing one sentence. They might freeze during the day as a memory hits them out of nowhere. They might write pages of thoughts trying to get it all out. But none of it brings peace. It only deepens the wound. What's disturbing about this process is how invisible it is. The INFJ might seem fine on the outside. They go to work. They make small talk. They smile. But inside, their mind is running full speed through an emotional maze that has no exit. And the longer this loop runs, the more damaging it becomes. It reinforces the hurt. It drains their energy. It makes healing feel impossible. Because every time they take a step forward, a memory pulls them 2 steps back. The worst part is, they often don't want to talk about it. Not because they're afraid, but because they don't think anyone will understand. They fear being told to let it go or move on, so they keep it in. And the overthinking just keeps getting louder. For the INFJ, pain doesn't come and go. It lingers. It loops. And it lives in the details that no one else even remembers. That's why their healing takes time. And why their silence should never be mistaken for peace. Thing number 6, profound loss of self. when their idealism collapses. INFJs don't just live in the present. They live in ideas, hopes, and visions of what could be. They build strong beliefs about love, friendship, truth, and what's right. And these aren't just opinions, they're part of who they are. Their identity is deeply tied to their ideals. So when someone they believed in turns out to be someone else, when a relationship they trusted ends in betrayal, when a dream they fought for is shattered by reality, it doesn't just hurt. It shakes their entire sense of self. That's something few people see. On the outside, the INFJ may just seem quiet. But inside, they're unraveling. Because what got destroyed wasn't just a hope, it was part of their identity. This collapse of idealism can feel like losing their compass. The INFJ might stop trusting people altogether. They might question if they'll ever feel safe again. In some cases, they even begin to doubt their purpose or worth. And that shift isn't dramatic. It's quiet. It's a slow fading of color from their inner world. They lose interest in things they once loved. They pull away from people they used to trust. They stop believing that good things are possible. This is especially painful because INFJs are natural visionaries. Their minds are built to believe in better, to hope deeply, to dream with intensity. So when that core part of them is broken, it's not easy to put back together. The world becomes darker. Their thoughts become heavier. They might still function, but something inside them has dimmed. Something hopeful. Something light. The worst part is, most people don't even realize this transformation has happened. They just notice the INFJ seems more distant, less enthusiastic, harder to reach. But they don't see the wreckage inside, the pieces of self that were tied to something now gone. Rebuilding from this takes time. It takes healing, reflection, and sometimes a complete redefinition of what they believe about the world and themselves. And while the INFJ can rise from this kind of pain, they're never quite the same. They become wiser, but also more guarded, more careful with who they trust, and slower to believe in dreams again. When an INFJ gets hurt, most people never see the damage. They won't hear the screaming in their mind. They won't notice the silence that hides emotional chaos. They won't see the trust that broke, the guilt that formed, the rage that built, or the dreams that died. Because INFJs don't wear their pain on the outside. They carry it inside where no one else can touch it, where it won't be misunderstood, where it won't be dismissed. But just because it's invisible doesn't mean it's not real. What makes the INFJ different is that their pain becomes part of their growth. They don't stay broken. They rebuild. They protect their heart without closing it. They learn, even when the lesson hurts. And they use what they've felt to understand others on a deeper level. That's the power in their silence. That's the strength behind their eyes. And that's why their pain, while disturbing, also reveals something rare. Depth that survives even after it's been shattered. If you're an INFJ and you've felt this kind of hidden pain, know that you're not alone. And if you've ever hurt an INFJ, whether you knew it or not, understand that their silence wasn't emptiness. It was protection. Let us know in the comments which part of this you've lived through, or what helped you heal. And if you want to go deeper into the INFJ experience, let us know what topic you want to see next.